Well, we think we are in the midst of an explosion in innovation, which I know Michael knows all about. And we believe there are 5 major innovation platforms evolving right now at the same time. We've never had this before. You have to go back to the early 1900s, telephone, electricity, automobile. Today we have genomic sequencing, robotics, energy storage, artificial intelligence, and blockchain technology. And we believe they are going to converge, actually. So we don't have individual technologies doing one S-curve at a time.
Sure.
We've got S-curves feeding S-curves. Just to give you an example of that, autonomous taxi platforms. That's the convergence of 3 of those platforms. Robotics, autonomous vehicles are robots. Energy storage, they will be electric. And artificial intelligence, they'll be powered by AI. Now that industry, or that particular platform, accounts for basically 0 revenue today.
Wow.
By the year 2030, we think it will be a $9 to $10 trillion revenue generating opportunity. So what we usually say is, get on the right side of change, because these platforms, and they involve 14 different technologies, they are all creating exponential growth trajectories. They're going to be transformative, but they're going to be very disruptive to the traditional world order. Innovation is the great leveler. You know, the most seasoned experts are all new, and experts in any particular topic historically are all new to these innovation platforms. So it really gives young people a wonderful opportunity to get on the right side of change and move up very quickly.
Cathie Wood believes that we are currently in the middle of one of the most pivotal times in history, with 5 innovation platforms hitting inflection points, causing exponential growth and investment opportunities like we have never seen before. In her latest interview, Cathie breaks down why she is extremely bullish for 2023 and beyond, and why investors that can stomach the volatility and are not afraid to go against the traditional status quo and benchmarks will be rewarded handsomely. Make sure to stick around to the end of the video, where Cathie breaks down ARK Invest's strategy in finding the best growth opportunities to invest in and what they look for in a leader of these companies. Also, only a small percentage of my viewers are actually subscribed. If you enjoy finance content, consider subscribing or liking the video. It's free and you can always change your mind.
What I would do is make sure I do the research, and I'll put a little plug in for ours, since we give all of our research away. It's on ark-invest.com, and there you will find how to get on the right side of change, or at least where to go. Now, and so I think what it will require longer term is a multidisciplinary education. And because of these convergences. So I would certainly think about that. But in terms of the traditional world, I would really take a hard look at how it's going to be disrupted and make sure that either you're an agent of change for your company in this new world, and you're with a company who will, or that will change, as opposed to a company tried and true, we've always done it this way, our way or the highway.
Right.
So just make sure. And you know, again, I always say, make your boss look brilliant is the best strategy longer term. And many younger people coming into the workforce now know so much more about technologies in their everyday lives than their bosses. So I think it's actually going to be easier to make an impact as a young person today than it might have been 10 years ago, because the technologies are changing so quickly, and the younger people entering the workforce today are more digitally native, and everything's, the digital and the physical are converging. We do our top-down research, which is all about sizing the markets, figuring out the unit economics. Then we have our bottom-up stock research-driven thought processes. And then we have an overlay, which is all about innovation. It's a 6-metric scoring system. The first is people, management, and culture. I am maniacally following management changes over time, seeing who's coming, who's going. And because it really makes a huge difference to a company. So when we talk about management, people and culture, we're talking about a visionary leader. And in our world, which is all the technologically enabled world, it is that leader typically has a different point of view about how the world is going to work out. Very different from the traditional point of view. And Tesla is a great case in point. We're known for our Tesla investing, as you mentioned. And Elon Musk figured out that he could leverage the consumer electronics industry to build an electric vehicle when auto manufacturers and auto analysts were laughing at him, saying, oh yeah, well look at those batteries are blowing up in planes, you're going to put that in a car? Well, guess what, he did it, and still has a lead in batteries. And he's also the only auto manufacturer to design an artificial intelligence chip. So he's taking a leaf from Apple's book. Remember in the day, the old cell phone days, it was Nokia, Ericsson, Motorola, BlackBerry maybe. Where are they now? They missed the plot. They lost the plot. Why? They did not design, as Apple did, a chip for smartphones. You know, a computer in your pocket. They weren't thinking that way. They were thinking more about fashion, actually. I remember it very well. Elon's doing the same thing. But the most important thing a leader of a public company today has to do is stand up against short-term oriented investors, and I would say public and private world. Stand up against them and say, we need to invest aggressively now in order to capitalize, to get there first. Because with artificial intelligence as the glue in much of innovation today, the companies with the largest pools of data, the best domain expertise in their own industries, the best AI expertise, is probably going to win a winner-take-most market. It's going to be quite something, you know, autonomous driving. The company that gets someone from point A to point B safely and quickly is going to be the winner. You know, the safety is going to be paramount, and once the reputation starts building, then the network will grow fairly rapidly. So standing up against short-term oriented investors to invest aggressively against the vision. And of course, as a good leader, I you know, in terms of ARC, in founding it, a good leader always has to be willing, this is a fine distinction because of what I just told you, to pivot. And in our case, it wasn't a pivot away from our core competency, which was an exclusive focus on disruptive innovation and an open research ecosystem. It was more the package in which we would deliver this. Would it be an ETF, which is where we started and where we are doing very well right now? The seeds for what is happening today and the reason these growth trajectories are going to be so explosive, the seeds for all of this were planted in the 20 years that ended in the tech and telecom bubble. Back then, too much capital chasing too few opportunities too soon. The technologies weren't ready, or they were way too costly. So here we are 20, 25 plus years later. We've been germinating these technologies, AI, deep learning, the big breakthrough in 2012, before that cloud computing, 2006 with AWS. So these technologies did not exist back then. So we've been germinating these technologies, and now we're ready for explosive growth. What's so interesting from an investor point of view, I just told you, too much capital chasing too few opportunities. They were falling all over each other to make sure that their tech weightings were higher than the next guys and the indexes. So they should have been pulling back, Today, they should be rushing in. And instead they're heading for the hills, which means they're benchmarks. And in the context of Southeastern, I have described benchmark-style investing, or at least the whole allegiance to it,